On this episode of the Hanford Insider, we hear from podcaster Rob Esquerdo about his show and nonprofit, Reestablishing Stratford. Rob will give you a quick review of the busy community calendar. Then later, I'll be back with your sports report. This is the Hanford Insider for Monday, October 27th.
Welcome to the Hanford Insider, your inside look at the people, stories, and happenings that make Hanford, California such a special place to call home. From local events and community leaders to hidden gems and hometown history, we're here to keep you connected to what's happening right here in our valley. I'm your host, Rob Bentley, and together we'll explore what makes Hanford shine. Let's dive in. Congratulations to Hanford Police Department Explorers at their recent state competition in Bakersfield, taking first place in several categories and placing high in others. The Hanford City Council will meet once again on Tuesday, November 4th. The Hanford City Council met last Tuesday, and Mayor Payton provided a comprehensive recap in his Wednesday wrap-up. If you haven't heard it yet, be sure to go back and check it out on my episodes page. Speaking of his updates, I'd like to thank those of you who reached out to me this week and let me know how much you appreciate the Wednesday wrap-ups by Mayor Payton. Your feedback really fuels me. Now let's take a look at this week's community calendar. This week's another busy one. I'm not able to read all the events on the show, but be sure to check out my community calendar for a complete listing. On Wednesday, the Hanford Library will be holding a ceremonial groundbreaking at 10 a.m. to celebrate the renovations that are about to begin. Also on Wednesday, the Council Corner with Chris Tavares and Nancy Howes will be held at Starbucks at Lacey and 11th at 4 p.m. At the Thursday Night Marketplace this week, it's a spooky Halloween party. This is the last Thursday Night Marketplace of the year. And if I recall, not one was canceled due to heat this year, but just a couple of weeks ago, we lost one due to the rain. Thank you to Main Street Hanford for putting on this quality event for the community so many weeks each year and doing it for the last 25. Thursday night is also the big rivalry football game, Clash of the Claws, pitting Hanford West against Sierra Pacific at Neighbor Bowl. Friday night, it's the Milk Can game with Hanford facing Lemoore. Eric will have a preview in just a few minutes. The Carnegie Museum of Kings County History of Agriculture display is open Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. through December 14th. Visit carnegiemuseumofkingscounty.org. I've put together a great list of pumpkin patches, fall festivals, trunk-or-treats, and all of your favorite fall events on my community calendar that I send out each week to my subscribers. The calendar, without a doubt, is the most comprehensive community calendar available. There's no other calendar that can come even remotely close. Become a subscriber today at hanfordinsider.com. If you have an event coming up and you'd like some help getting the word out, let's work together. Send your information to hanfordinsider@gmail.com. Like I said, be sure to subscribe to my weekly newsletter to get a complete calendar of events. It's the most comprehensive community calendar available. Well, it gives me great pleasure to welcome to the show Rob Esquerdo, who is a fellow podcaster, and he is very invested in the Valley, and he has done a lot of work with Reestablishing Stratford, his nonprofit. And last week on the show, we had Caltrans talking about the roundabout in Stratford that's really going to alleviate traffic, and Robert is going to share a little bit about that with us. But before we start, let's talk about your show, your podcast. I've been following it for a number of years, and you have quite a few episodes, and you've had some great guests, and a few of them have been on mine. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. I've looked forward and followed you as well.
So Robert, let's hear a little bit about your show and what it's all about.
Rob Live started as an idea that I came up with in the classroom as a teacher. I try to embed a lot of life lessons and inspirational stories with my students. And I thought, what if I could expand that audience and maybe inspire a larger audience? And to me, the best way today is social media. And so I started to come up with an idea for inspirational messages, which then turned into interviews, and which then my friend James Chance, who's a video production teacher at Liberty High School, decided to get involved and make it so much better production-wise, and actually built us a studio.
So one of the things that our shows have in common is we like to spread positive messages. And we talked about this earlier about, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of these sites. And there's a lot of people out there that make content that kind of goes with the, if it bleeds, it leads kind of mantra. And people go to these sites to find out about, what's going on in town crime-wise. But I really appreciate your show because, like me, you try to feature positive messages to people. So can you share with us maybe a few guests that have just really made an impact on your show?
Yes. I'd have to say, honestly, almost every guest has left some sort of impact, but the ones that stand out to me are some of the local stories. For example, when we had, I think it must have been maybe my first or second episode, it was Christy Kamara, who's from Hanford, lost her son to filicide, which was a term I wasn't familiar with. And that's where a parent takes the life of a child. So she lost her son, and just her resilience to fight through that, she ended up making a book, writing a book called Can I Still Be Funny After the Murder of My Son? And the way she was able to pivot that into something positive, that she stands out to me to this day. And she's even getting a bill passed right now to help with some of the gun laws.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, on the August 24th episode, we had her on, and she has since notified us that the bill has actually passed now. And so all of her hard work is paid off, and it's passed the governor's signature, and we're very excited about that for her. And I know you've had some other guests on it, people that I'm aware of. You've had Dallas Poor on, you've had Dwayne Tubbs. It's great having these guests that have such positive messages to share. But I know you have your inspirational stories part of your show, but you also have another purpose of community action.
So one of the things that I got involved in early on, returning back to the Central Valley after a 20-year hiatus out in Bay Area and Los Angeles, was this idea of giving back to community. And that started with a Library for London project in my hometown of London, and then out to Stratford with reestablishing Stratford. So I've always tried to kind of juggle between a inspirational and kind of a socially conscious approach.
So let's move on to Stratford. Last week on the show, of course, we talked about the proposed roundabout, and it's making headway, and it sounds like dirt may be moving in the future on that. And before we get to the actual roundabout, tell us a little bit about the community of Stratford and how they rally together.
Yes, Stratford's unique in the sense that it's a unincorporated community, rural unincorporated community. And so with that being said, a lot of the decisions are made by the county versus an inner community sort of setup, like a mayorship. And so when you have decisions being made outside of the community, a lot of times they may not be in the best interest of the residents just by default because you don't know the day to day. And with that being said, a lot of residents were like asking for some sort of organization, some sort of advocacy for them. And so we formed 11 years ago when I moved to Stratford. And then we're a team of 7 and we have all walks of life that represent that group. And our whole mission is to create opportunities and services and provide resources for the community and to advocate for them in times of need.
So I know one of the ways that you advocate for the community is through food distributions, and that's a popular community event, yeah?
That's very popular. It got extremely popular during COVID, and then we just kept going on with it. And I want to give a huge shout out to Valley Voices. I don't know if they might have been on your show already because we have very similar guests, but Valley Voices really got involved, and they partnered with the Central Valley Community Food Bank, and they've organized us to have every third Saturday a food distribution. And so we want to thank them for putting that together for us.
So let's move on to the Highway 41 project then. As we said last week, that there's a proposed roundabout there at Laurel where the mini mart is, and there's been some close calls on accidents. I was through there in July and nearly got nailed by somebody who was passing on the right. Tell us about how that change alone, you can see it kind of transforming the community.
Yes, it's crazy that everyone I know has a near miss story that's ever tried to, frequent that area on a regular basis. And I think that this is a transformative situation because in a community like Stratford, I said earlier that people don't necessarily believe in talk, in how communication leads to action, because they hear a lot of things, they're promised a lot of things, and there's not always a lot of follow through for them. And so as a community, I think Stratford lost a little bit of hope and faith in the gathering and hearing of voices. And so what they did instead now is they said, we want to see action. So this is going to transform the community in the sense that it's a physical change of the landscape that was started through meetings. And so our hope is that they will buy into this idea that everything has to start with a communication and that it's not a waste of time. It can lead to some change.
Yeah, when I think about it, when he was mentioning it, I thought to myself, it's kind of like a radiator springs, if you will, with cars,
Yeah.
You get that fast freeway going through and traffic just goes and it doesn't slow down. But I can definitely see development in that area as traffic slows down. There's going to be some complaining. People have a certain thing against roundabouts, which I particularly don't. I enjoy the traffic controls of roundabouts, and I think they're much safer. But I can see it transforming that area of the town. I think it's going to be a real big boom for the local economy.
Oh, yes. The gas station owners right there on Laurel and 41, I went in to visit them, I want to say on Saturday. And I was like, hey, did you guys hear the news? And the owner was there and she's like, what happened? I said, it's going to be. And she was celebrating because she has witnessed so much. They've had is it called medevac? The helicopter has landed multiple times in her parking lot to help victims of collisions there.
Do they have a timeline that they've given you on what to expect?
Yes. They said that the project will begin physically in 2030. So it's about a 4 to 5 year wait. And I know that also for some residents say, oh, this needs to happen right away. And my perspective is that 6 months ago, it wasn't going to happen at all. So if we have to wait a little bit, we can do that.
Exactly. Those projects definitely take time. Well, Rob, you certainly are involved in the community, and I admire your work that you've done with the community of Stratford, reestablishing Stratford. Some people have followed that on social media, and, what is this all about? And I think community action is what this is all about. You've been able to mobilize the community and get them to act and to push Caltrans to get this roundabout put in. Once again, the show is Rob Live, and it is on YouTube and various podcast outlets. And Robert, I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I really appreciate everything that you've done for the community. And I understand you have some special events coming up this week, right?
Yes, we have Thursday, October 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. We have our largest event of the year, which is our Stratford Trunk or Treat event. This year's particularly special because it's the first year that we're actually going to do it on Main Street, Stratford, next to the library. We're going to get some barricades with a county permit to be able to shut down the streets and celebrate right there in a central location.
Well, that's great, Rob. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you in our studio as well.
And now it's time for Hanford Insider Sports with Eric Bentley.
Another week, another dominating victory for Hanford High football, taking down Mission Oak 49-7 on Friday. The game was never really in doubt from the start, as a pair of long Jaron Mao to A.J. Williams touchdown passes gave the Bullpups a 14-0 lead after the first quarter. It was the second quarter that really proved to be the decider, as the Hanford High defense forced 3 Mission Oak turnovers, while the offense kept firing on all cylinders, with Jaron Mao finding Tavion Patterson for a pair of touchdowns, and Rajon Newton punching one in before the half to give the Bullpups a commanding 35-0 lead at the break. The Hawks got on the board late in the third, but a pair of Bullpups touchdowns would pad the 4-score lead, as Hanford High would cruise to the victory. Quarterback Jaron Mao finished the evening with 6 touchdown passes, while the defense turned Mission Oak over 4 times. At 4-0 in league, the Bullpups control their WIL destiny. A win in Friday's Milk Can game secures a 3rd consecutive league title. And even though Hanford High owns the tiebreaker over second-place Tulare Union, the Bullpups hope things don't get too spooky at Neighbor Bowl on Halloween for that 7 p.m. kickoff. And this week's Clash of the Claws football matchup between Sierra Pacific and Hanford West will give one of those two teams their lone Tri-County Sequoia League win, as they both sit at 0-3 after falling in their matchups last week. Sierra Pacific will be the home team for that Thursday 7:30 kickoff. In girls volleyball, the regular season came to a close, and it was heartbreak for Hanford West last Tuesday as the Huskies fell to Kerman in another 5-set matchup between the two teams, giving the Lions the Tri-County Sequoia League title. But a bounce-back victory over Sierra Pacific concluded the Huskies' regular season with a 6-2 second-place league finish and a 29-3 overall record, good enough for a 9 seed in the Division IV section playoff bracket. Postseason play starts this week, as Hanford West will travel up to Chowchilla on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Hanford High volleyball also secured a second-place league finish, taking down Mission Oak last week in straight sets before being swept by a dominant Lemoore team. At 7-3 in WIL play and finishing the season 18-12 overall, the Bullpups will also see playoff action as an 11 seed in the Division IV section playoff bracket, and they might want to give Hanford West a call for some scout film because 6 seed Kerman awaits Hanford High on Tuesday at 6 p.m. And Sierra Pacific's volleyball season came to a close last week with a 9-16 overall mark, 3-5, and a 4th-place finish in league play. And it may be cooling down outside, but it's heating up in the pool. The final week of the regular season for water polo is this week. We'll have playoff seedings and matchup previews on next week's episode. As always, we'd like to cover as many sports as we can, but we can only do so much without you. Any sport, any team, any level, if you have a score report or a team update, please let us know at hanfordinsider@gmail.com. I'm Eric Bentley, and this has been your Hanford Insider Sports Report.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week's show. If you enjoyed this podcast and you'd like to show your support, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Hanford Insider to make a donation. If you'd like to join the Hanford Insider email list, stop by my website at hanfordinsider.com to sign up for updates. You'll also get an exclusive copy of my newsletter in your inbox each week. I also need your help getting the word out about the show by liking and sharing on social media, or like most people, just telling a friend. For more information about the show, you can find this podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, and YouTube at Hanford Insider. If you have a show idea, be sure to email me at hanfordinsider@gmail.com and I'll look into it. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.